What if you could skip the months, even years, of fumbling, performing, negotiating, and uncertainty that typically define the start of a relationship, and instead experience a lifetime of love in a single day, wounds, truths, and all? Would such radical honesty lead to genuine intimacy, or would it destroy the possibility before it can even blossom? Duck Butter dares to ask what happens when two women try to compress all the joys and pains of a romantic journey into just 24 unforgettable hours. Naima is an aspiring actor in Los Angeles, wrapped tight in her own anxiety and emotional reserve. Her days are spent struggling through auditions, squeezed by the pressure to be likable, relatable, real, but never too raw. The opening scenes introduce us to the brittle facade she's constructed. She's talented and ambitious, but her nervous self-editing keeps real emotion and real connection at arm's length. When she's rejected from an indie film project after challenging the male director's shallow vision of women, Naima storms away, angry with Hollywood, yet more frustrated with herself for never feeling enough, never able to drop the persona even when she wants to. Goaded by her roommate, Naima reluctantly heads out to a nightclub, still smarting from the failed audition. There, amid the thumping electronic bass and flickering coloured lights, she locks eyes with Sergio, Laia Costa, a free-spirited, impish Spanish singer. Sergio is everything Naima isn't: bold, extroverted, physically playful, and seemingly fearless when it comes to baring her soul. Their conversation, laced with flirtation and quick wit, establishes a unique chemistry. Unlike the shallow conversations and awkward grinds of nightclub culture, Sergio and Naima fall quickly into a rhythm that is paradoxically frank and loaded with subtext. Sergio's European ease with sex and emotional exposure both disarms and frightens Naima, who isn't quite ready to let go of her control. Their connection is electric but different. It is rooted in the hunger for authenticity and escape. Tempted by the opportunity to skip the dating games and experience a fuller, more honest relationship, they spend the night together. On a whim, after just hours of talking, Sergio suggests an experiment as unconventional as it is alluring. What if they spend the next 24 hours together and do everything you do in a relationship, compressing the stages of intimacy into a brutal, accelerated timeline? Every hour on the hour they will make love. In the hours between they will eat, talk, rest, reveal their histories, flaws and truths, and exist without any pretense or armor. Naima, half excited and half terrified by the prospect, agrees. The next morning she packs a bag, sends an apologetic email to her agent, and arrives at Sergio's small but sunlit apartment. They draw up loose rules, buy takeout, and begin, setting a timer to chime every hour as a ritual reminder of their pact, a kind of relationship clock marking their progress from strangers to, possibly, something like soulmates. Their day together unfolds like a kaleidoscope, moments of euphoria tumbling into fear, humour colliding with vulnerability. Early on, the experiment is delightfully awkward but giddy. They make breakfast, exchange stories about their exes, past traumas, and insecurities. With each bout of lovemaking, their bodies become more familiar, desire turning from hurried to exploratory, possessive to caring. In between, they brush their teeth together, argue about music, joke about the absurdity of their situation. The boundaries between intimacy and banality crumble. Life, stripped of time and distraction, is raw and immediate. At first, they tease out secrets and laughs easily. Sergio describes her complicated relationship with her parents in Spain, especially her mother, with whom she has a tender but fraught connection. She wears her wounds on her sleeve, relentless in her honesty, but funny and self-deprecating too, able to make Naima let down her guard, at least a little. Naima, for her part, struggles. Her honesty is cautious, layered with fear of rejection and the shame of past relationships. Sergio pushes, sometimes too much, because she cannot stand artifice, and Naima is nearly all artifice. As the experiment progresses, small tensions begin to mount. Sexual intimacy, intense as it is, cannot fill every chasm. When Sergio reveals she is polyamorous and values freedom, Naima, who is drawn to exclusivity and emotional safety, recoils. The constant proximity wears on both. Exhaustion and irritability creep in as they discover that true closeness reveals differences as much as similarities. Life outside their cocoon intrudes. At one point, Naima receives an apologetic text from her ex, unsettling both women. Sergio, feeling threatened, takes her phone without permission and reads the messages, a breach of trust masquerading as a demand for honesty. Naima, in turn, reacts with anger, then guilt, exposing her tendency to retreat when hurt rather than confront things directly. The confrontation spirals. They accuse each other of emotional cowardice. Naima for never allowing anyone truly in, Sergio for confusing drama and crisis with real closeness. A poignant, awkward scene finds them Skyping Sergio's mother in Spain. Naima, nervous, tries to impress, but is also overwhelmed by being suddenly thrust into an intimate family moment with a near stranger. Sergio, thrilled to bridge the ocean for Naima, is simultaneously overwhelmed by familiar pain, her longing for acceptance from her emotionally volatile mother, her frustration at being unable to be fully herself even with the person who raised her. Naima, who has her own complicated relationship with her absentee father, feels both the pull and the discomfort of second-hand family drama. The scene captures the paradox of their artificial closeness. In a normal relationship, this moment would come months, even years in. Compressed now, it's nearly unbearable. Their mini-lifetime together now takes a darker tone. Arguments become sharper and more personal. Whether they are fighting about open relationships, creative insecurities, or past heartbreak, each confrontation is sharpened by their pact not to retreat into politeness. They express jealousy, fear, anger, and disappointment with a level of intensity that feels almost dangerous. At one point, Sergio storms out, threatening to quit the experiment. Naima sobs alone, only for Sergio to return, angry, apologetic, insistent that the rules be honored, as if the structure itself is the last thing holding them together. Yet, in the moments just after every confrontation, there are stunning flashes of vulnerability and forgiveness. In the bathroom, after a particularly brutal argument, they work together to take a shower, washing the sweat, exhaustion, and frustration from each other's bodies, gently, wordlessly. The care they show in this moment, touches that are as much about tenderness as desire, speaks to the ache at the movie's center. Even when intimacy falters, the longing to repair and remain is what keeps relationships alive. As night gives way to morning and their 24 hours draw to a close, both are depleted, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. In their last round of lovemaking, neither is simply going through the motions. It is an act of both farewell and defiance, embodying the paradox of the human heart. That intimacy, in its deepest forms, is always shadowed by the risk of heartbreak, but also by the hope of transformation. Finally, when the clock runs out, so does the experiment. Naima, quietly devastated but changed, dresses in silence. With no grand goodbyes, she leaves Sergio's apartment. In the cool morning air, the two share a final, searching look. There is no promise of more, no assurance that what they built in a day could survive a week or a year. But there is respect, and the knowledge that together they dared something most lovers never try. In the days that follow, Naima returns to her daily grind, but she is irrevocably altered. She moves through her world with less fear, more candor. Her acting is riskier and more authentic. Sergio, for her part, is softer, her laughter less brittle, her art more honest. Without one another, they each become more themselves. The film hints, not in any contrived reunion, but in lingering looks and changed habits, that the impact of their experiment will ripple through both their lives for years. Character development. Naima is the heart of the film's evolution. She begins reticent, always performing a version of herself, riddled with self-doubt, paralyzed by past wounds, terrified of rejection. Through her encounter with Sergio, she slowly dismantles her own armor. The experiment, harsh, absurd, and beautiful, forces her to confront not only the messiness of love, but also the mess within herself. By the end, she is less afraid of looking foolish, of being unlikable, of loving imperfectly. Sergio embodies the danger and allure of radical transparency. She teaches Naima to take up space, to speak honestly and demand the same in return. Yet Sergio's own arc is not one of simple triumph. Her volatility, her push for constant closeness, is as much a shield as Naima's reticence is a prison. She must learn that love is not forged from conflict alone, that protecting oneself by preempting hurt can drive others away. Significant scenes. The first night in the club, where the foundations of trust and their pact are laid. Their decision to text or call exes, exploring the edges of what is safe, what is honest, and what is simply too much. The Skype moment with Sergio's mother, a window into Sergio's wounds, and the discomfort of being thrust into another's family drama. Their repeated arguments and reconciliations, raw, sometimes ugly, but real. The tender post-fight shower, the most wordless scene, but perhaps the best articulation of care in the movie. The morning after, where parting is not a scene of drama, but of deep, mutual acknowledgement. Life lessons from Duck Butter. At its core, Duck Butter is an ode and a warning to those who chase authenticity and intensity above all else. The film posits that radical honesty can be seductive, but also destructive. True intimacy isn't about relentless confession. It's about mutual respect, space, and growth. Being real is not the same as being safe. In the pursuit of no boundaries love, we may end up exposing vulnerabilities that need nurturing, not interrogation. The pace of love matters. Trying to shortcut experience often leads to burnout. Wisdom often comes from lingering, not rushing. Boundaries are loving too. It's brave to bare your soul, but it's just as brave to say no, to walk away, or to protect what's still healing inside you. Letting go is not always failure. Some relationships are meant to be lessons, not lifetimes. So, what is left when the experiment fails? Only everything that matters. Both Sergio and Naima learn that you cannot cheat time or skip the difficult work of building trust and understanding. Love does not arrive full-formed, nor does it yield to artificial limits, however dramatic. The courage to love is also the courage to let go. Ultimately, Duck Butter is less about whether Sergio and Naima make it as a couple, and more about how we are all shaped by the intensity, pain, and beauty of trying to connect. Their day-long odyssey is a microcosm of dating, relationships, and heartbreak, and a reminder that sometimes a brief, honest connection leaves a mark that a lifetime together cannot. If you loved this journey through the wild, poignant, and uncompromising experiment of Duck Butter, hit like, subscribe, and share. For more recaps, reviews, and deep dives into sapphic movies, novels, and shows, join the channel and let these stories keep challenging and inspiring your own. Love bravely, and remember that every moment of truth, no matter how brief, is worth it.